Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Tuesday topic. Today's topic is Making It Happen, Growth and Sustainability for Nursing and Health Professions, Professors of Color in an Academic Environment. While we're waiting for everybody's microphones to turn on and for everyone's audio to be working, let me just plug a couple of Tuesday topics that are coming up. Today, this is week 10 of the spring quarter. This is our last Tuesday topic of this quarter. So we're going to take a couple of weeks off. We'll see you back here on Tuesday, June 22nd with Atlas Pain Care, an interprofessional framework or mentoring framework with some presenters from physical therapy and rehab science and creative arts therapies. And then on Tuesday, July 13, Raising Our Hands with Jenna Arnold. And then in August, Tuesday, August 17, same story, different generation, each one reach one in higher education. So we hope you'll join us for some, if not those. I'm going to go ahead and just pop into the chat the Zoom meeting or the Tuesday topics page. And let me throw it now over to Marcia Penn. Marcia, introduce yourself and the panelists.
Thank you, Darren, so much. I am Marcia Penn, or Marcy as they call me here at the College of Nursing. I am the executive assistant to Dr. Loretta Sweet-Jamat, and I am also served on the board of diversity, equity, and inclusion here at the College of Nursing and Health Professions. And so welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're going to make it happen. That's the beginning of our title. Thank you for that intro, Darren. Making it happen. We're going to talk about growth and sustainability around nursing, professors of color in the academic environment. And we hope that we have a lively conversation. One of our colleagues who will be introduced shortly will talk about the process here at Drexel. And we're also going to hopefully have a lively discussion about the barriers of equity and inclusion for professors of color. Pursuing tenure and non-tenure track growth and sustainability. So we're looking for everyone to participate. And again, thank you for coming and welcome.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Denise Way, and I am an assistant professor in the undergraduate program. I'm really excited about today. So I'm going to be really brief because I don't want to spend a lot of time on me. I'm going to let our moderator and our panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to Professor Mcgee. Okay, and she'll introduce herself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Professor Mcgee. I've been at Drexel for I think about 18 years now and pretty much have taught in all the different programs. I'm going to be here today to talk about the tenure process and the promotion process. I've also done a workshop on the non-tenure process, and that can be found under the Faculty Affairs, Faculty Development folder in SharePoint. And that's it for me.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tasha Martin-Peters, and I'm an assistant clinical professor here in the College of Nursing and Health Professions. I've been with Drexel for about 4 years now, and my clinical background is pediatric critical care and pediatric cardiac care. And I currently am the course chair for Pharm 1 and Pharm 2, both courses I teach, and I also teach patho and pediatrics here in the College of Nursing.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Nadira Coles. I'm also nursing faculty at the College of Nursing and Health Professions. Been at Drexel for 5 years, been at higher education for 10 years now. I just became full-time faculty at Drexel last year. So I've been teaching multiple courses within the College of Nursing and Health Professions. My background is nursing administration, emergency medicine, and education. So it's just exciting to be able to discuss this topic with you guys today. So I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Nalo Hamilton. I am actually the party crasher. I am from UCLA School of Nursing. I am an associate professor here at UCLA. My area of expertise, I guess, are several fold as tenured faculty, I do breast cancer research. I look at health disparities and identify screening as well as treatment for women with aggressive and triple negative breast cancer. As a clinician, I am in the family and adult gero specialty. I'm a women's health and adult nurse practitioner who also practices clinically. I have 15 plus, we'll say that, years of clinical experience in higher education. And I appreciate the invitation to participate today.
Thank you for being with us.
Okay. All right.
All right, we're going to let Pam get started with her PowerPoint.
Okay, so like I said, going to give a brief overview of the tenure process. So I'm here to give the brief overview of the tenure process as well as the promotion process, but I'm not an expert in this. So I am going to give you the resources you need and where you can find them. So everything I'm going to talk about right now is on SharePoint. So if you go to CNHP SharePoint and then go to CNHP committees, you'll see there's a tenure and tenure track promotions committee. And that has all kinds of documents that I'm going to kind of review a little bit here. So the first thing you want to do in the process is notify your supervisor that you are interested in going up for tenure. And you want to determine your research interest, because most of the time, most tenured faculty kind of have a overall research interest that they follow throughout their career. And so you'll build on that over the course of time. The tenure process is a 6-year process. So you're in the pre-tenure period, and then third year is your midpoint review, and you need to complete everything by the 6th year. Most important is that you want to set up goals. So you want to create a professional development plan. So the more organized you can be, the better, and kind of map out what you want to focus on each year. You'll also develop a timetable. And so staying organized and staying on that timetable will be very helpful. You also want to be very organized. So again, putting all your documents, all your evaluations, all of your articles that you've written in folders that are easily found. So you can, when you go to prepare your dossier, you have all that documentation already there. The university offers some resources through the Office of Faculty Affairs, and also offers a tenure dossier information sessions, which you can sign up for. And there's also the Canopy program, which again, you'll find this information under SharePoint. So in the pre-tenure period, again, you're going to contact your department chair. And if your department chair is not a tenured faculty, your co-mentor will be the Associate Dean of Interprofessional Research and Development, which right now is Roseanne DiMaria Galili. So she will work with your department chair if your department chair is not tenured. Oftentimes when you're going up for tenure, you're also going up for promotion because you're fulfilling the requirements for both. So you will be promoted from assistant professor to associate professor. What you really want to do when you're going for tenure is demonstrate a sustained excellence in research, and then either an excellence in teaching or excellence in service. So in order to be sustained, you want to really kind of follow these minimum guidelines of having sustained scholarship or research. So 2 to 3 publications in peer-reviewed journals, in high visibility journals, 2 to 3 presentations, and then some kind of external funding. So either applying for grants or having research funding. When you do go for your midpoint evaluation, you will be given 3 different grades. Either you're making satisfactory progress and you will continue on, you are progressing toward promotion and tenure, but there are some deficiencies which you will need to correct, or you're not making satisfactory progress toward promotion and will not be able to continue on tenure track. So you can either go back to non-tenure track, or if you don't go for non-tenure track, I guess you leave the institution. You can also see the requirements for associate professor. So again, having an earned doctorate degree, having at least 5 years of teaching experience, 3 of which are at the rank of assistant professor, have some research, teaching, and service. Again, evidence in all of those. Be actively involved in a professional organization. Be recognized as an expert in your clinical field. And then have the expectation of continued contribution through scholarship and research. So in the final 3 years, you're creating your dossier. And so these are the requirements for your dossier. So you're going to have a title page. And again, SharePoint will outline exactly what each of these documents have, what the page limit is, what the format is. You'll create a personal statement. You'll have all of your research and scholarship put into a summary table. Discuss your teaching and your service. You'll have a list of 10 prospective reviewers, which are people you select to review your dossier. And then there'll be external reviewers that the Faculty Affairs Committee selects. Again, you'll have your annual performance reviews, and then letters from the midpoint reviewer, the department chair, the tenure review committee, and then a letter from the dean. What's also nice in SharePoint is that there are timelines. So timelines gives you an idea of how much time you need from the time you declare that you're going for tenure and you're going for your midpoint review, and then when you'll finally find out about that. So again, you'll begin that midpoint review in July, but then you're not going to find out whether or not you're able to progress forward until April of the following year. Again, the timeline for tenure review and promotion, again, you'll submit or you'll declare your documentation in November, and then you'll finally find out about whether or not you got tenure and promotion in May or June of the following year. So again, this is a long road. It really does require a great deal of planning on your part. You do have support around you. And so, you want to identify the people who are going to be in your corner and who are going to root for you. I certainly will be one of them. So if you ever need an encouraging phone call or email, I'm happy to oblige. But again, identify the people who will support you as you go through this process, because there's going to be times when it's tough and you want to turn around and go back, but it's well worth it. And with that, I will pass it over to, am I passing it to Marcia or the panel? I think we're going to Tasha and Nadira. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have several questions, but to start this off, based on what I know about the process and what Pam just described, this is a very comprehensive process that requires a lot of support. And I guess my question is, how do you begin to build that team, right? So how do you, select the right individuals for your team? Are there certain qualities, certain contributions that you should be looking for in an individual? Obviously you would need a mentor throughout this whole process, but also you need multiple people. One for the 10 reviewers of your dossier and all of these folks who would be, hopefully in your corner. How do you begin to make that selection process? Particularly when there may not be, and not that there needs to be per se, but when there are not a lot of folks that look like you that make up the faculty.
Are you asking anyone in particular?
Anyone who has any insight into that.
Well, I think some of it has to do with your research topic. So you want someone who's going to be, who understands your research and can support you in that way. I think, it does not have to necessarily be somebody in the institution. So identify those people who are in your corner, in your institution. And can give you that support. And again, they don't necessarily have to look just like you, but it does have to be somebody you trust and somebody you feel is really going to be positive for you. But again, you can, choose people outside of your institution as well. So, it has to be somebody who has, a doctorate or tenured or whatever has gone through the process. Obviously, you want somebody who's gone through the process, particularly if they've gone through here at Drexel, because that's the process you're going to go through. So that would be very helpful.
Hi, I have a question for whomever could answer this question, but I guess Pam, it will be more appropriate for you because you've been at Drexel for a good amount of time. But as we know, each university has their own process with obtaining promotion and or the tenure process. However, looking at Drexel University as a whole, and more specifically the College of Nursing and Health Profession, how obtainable do you think region tenure status would be within specifically Drexel University?
I can say in my career at Drexel, I have not seen a whole lot of people go up for tenure. I have seen people who went for tenure and didn't get it. And those who go for tenure and don't get it, ultimately, if you're not awarded tenure, you leave the university. So it's not like you can go back to, just plain teaching. And that's, it was devastating to me because these were people who I respected, who I thought were very accomplished, had grants, but maybe didn't do as much research. I don't know what the reason for that they did not get tenure. But again, in the 18 years I've been here, I probably have only seen about 5 faculty members actually be awarded tenure. So it's a very difficult process. I think the promotion process is a very difficult process. I did the workshop for that, and it's just a huge amount of work. You might as well do another dissertation. I'm not to say it's impossible, but you really have to want it. You really have to want it because it is work.
Yeah, this is Veronica Carey. Hi, everybody. So I'm the Assistant Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the College of Nursing and Health Professions, and the proud chair, and there's my phone. Invariably, that happens. It's like Murphy's Law. And it's someone selling me something from CVS. So anyway, we'll just act like that's not ringing for right now. And I went through the promotions and now into the professor. So November, I'll be doing this all over again, Pam. So I can speak to from assistant to associate, right? Position to the clinical professor. And it is arduous. It really is. It's very, very time consuming. It's like, if you've ever felt like crossing T's and dotting I's, right, and you dream about it, right, that's literally what it's like. Like you just wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to put that in there, or did I put that in there? So what I found to be very, very helpful, and I've told a lot of people along the way that I've sort of mentored, is you store everything. So for example, if a student writes to you and says, oh my gosh, Dr. Coles, thank you so much for your assistance with yesterday's homework. Folder, one of your peers says, oh, you guys are putting on great Tuesday topics. Folder, like literally. And then I worry about where it gets captured later. Like I literally just have a promotions folder within email. And the minute someone praises me or applauds something or in their own words seems celebratory, even if it's something collegial, like I'm looking forward to us meeting later on behalf of. So anything that looks celebratory, collegial, I put it right into the folder. And then as Pam had said, when you're on that road, it articulates what comes under, and I forget these headings, Pam, so help me out. But, it literally articulates what the headings are. And then you can go back to that folder and say, oh, this I think fits under, I think this fits under. And then you'll know what you're brief in. And then you've got to go back and say, okay, I don't have enough in this or whatever area. I better start doing some extra articles, or I should do some more, or maybe join a committee of some sort, and that's how you know what your spaces are, where your spaces are. But is it fun? Absolutely not. It is not fun. It is work. It is work. But you know that you've achieved something when, you send everything in, and I don't know who you pray to, but once you send everything in and you're in the power of prayer, and then it comes back and you passed, you know that you are on par with everyone else who has passed. But it's not easy, but start squirreling, literally squirreling everything away in your email and letters and even hard copy letters of things that seem, or even ask for celebratory things. If you know you contributed to a committee and yet it seems kind of global, maybe you could get the chair of that committee to write just to you, to thank you for something, you know, or maybe you're writing something to someone else to demonstrate service, you know. So once you know what those categories are, then you kind of know how to put some pieces in there.
I would say also, in addition to that, you want to promote yourself. So if you are not on a university committee, nominate yourself and then tell everybody you're nominated for that committee. You know, please consider voting for me, because you need to be on you have to kind of get your friends together and get people to support you to meet the goals that you need to meet. But it's very difficult to get on university committees. It seems like the same people are always on them. So until they leave, you know, you might not be able to get on it. But again, I think, you know, kind of rallying people around you and allowing them to support you in something like that, that's easy to do. Just send out an email, say, hey, I'm nominated for such and such. Please consider voting for me.
Pam, I just want to comment. Thanks both of you for sharing that information. And I think that was one of the things when you were talking about the committee, and then we've had these conversations like who's on the board, who's on these committees. My question, and I think is something that Tasha and Nadir may be interested in, how do you get on this committee, and have they reevaluated this process? And this is 2021, so it would be interesting to find out when was the last time they reevaluated this process, because I'm thinking, going back to what Tasha was saying, and it's durable. But again, let's look at this process and say, okay, what can we change? This, again, always thinking, bringing stuff up to date to 2021, and how often do they reevaluate that?
Are you talking about the tenure process?
Yes, the tenure process in the committee. I mean, the board. Who's on the board? I saw it currently, because if I'm looking at the literature here, I printed out everything for tenure. Now that's updated. I see that has been evaluated, updated. I'm thinking about the committee. Do we have students, young people? That's the thing I really are interested in as well.
Well, you can actually see on SharePoint, there is the list of the tenure track committee and tenure and promotion committee members. They all have to be tenured faculty. So there are no students on that committee. That's all tenured faculty. And they actually are the ones who review your dossier, in addition to everybody else who looks at it, because everybody from the dean up to the provost also evaluates that. But again, I think they redid both, or relooked at the promotions as well as the tenure process recently. So those were both updated within the last year or two. They're still incredibly long.
Yes.
And thanks, I think to some degree, nursing seems to have a little bit more complex system than maybe some of the other colleges on the university side.
Thank you.
But Pam, when you were saying 5 and 18 years, is that actually, is that 5 tenured professors over?
Probably
about
years?
that. I'd have to actually count them, yeah. But
I guess, and not, again, not looking for a tenure of that, but it just causes questions in terms of, as Denise was mentioning, the process, and if you have tenured professors that are sitting on those committees, and if you don't have that many, then it's the same people. So I just kind of look at, is there something that needs to be looked at? Yes, it's probably absolutely worth it, when you get there. But is there a reason that, to me, that just sounds like a number we shouldn't be proud of? Let me put it that way. It sounds like we should be doing something to, are we not doing something to increase that number? Are we not bringing in the right people? Are we not looking at what the process is? And you were just talking in general. We haven't even talked about, tenure faculty of color. We're just talking about in general. So for me, all kinds of red flags. But when you say, I actually looked at 5 and 18 years, and not even so. Just
one of the biggest complaints of our faculty is that scholarship is very difficult to do because our workloads are very high, and we have clinical and we have lab, which, you know, the English department doesn't have a clinical that they have to supervise and go out and visit students and whatnot. So again, I think nursing is considered the workhorses. We are not looked at as being a research mecca of the university, and certainly are not given the resources for that. Again, we don't have teaching assistants, but everybody else in the university side, they have teaching assistants. So again, we have to work much harder. Our workload's very high, which doesn't leave a lot of time then for doing research or doing, you know, scholarly activities.
Just to speak a bit more to Marcia, to your point, and Pam's comment about the 5 faculty in 18 years, I'm curious to know, how does that number compare to other colleges of nursing in this area where Drexel is, you know, in the Philadelphia area? You know, is that number on par for, you know, schools like Villanova or, you know, any other school in the Philadelphia area that has a, you know, pretty large, robust college of nursing? And then it really kind of just takes me back to my original question, right? So, you know, you have to build this team of individuals. And obviously, if this is the institution in which you work, it's likely that, you know, a huge portion of your team would come from that institution. But, you know, like you mentioned, Pam, you can certainly elicit help outside of the university, outside of Drexel. But if there aren't a lot of faculty members to begin with who are in this role of tenure or, you know, or who have gained promotion, because I'll be honest, up until this past, I guess the last 2 years in the College of Nursing, there were many faculty who have been here who hadn't even gained promotion. So I'm just wondering, how do you find the resources if you are looking for an individual who is supposed to, you know, help you out, you know, and there aren't many people that have gone through this process, be it tenure or promotion, you know, where do you look? You know, how do you find these folks if this is kind of the state of our college within this university? So just continuing to ponder that and kind of putting it out there, not necessarily looking for a specific answer, but.
I think that's all good points. And Veronica is reminding us that we are a College of Nursing and Health Professions, and oftentimes that we only know the nursing piece and that we're also health professions as well. So something to think about in terms of the scope of what is done, but the numbers are still the numbers. So thank you for that. This may be a good, are there additional questions? Because I was going to say this might be a good segue into the video that we have. Okay. This is a video that I'm going to set up for you that was, I want to get this right, that was done in December of 2020. It was an article that was posted in the Philadelphia Inquirer called Real Healthcare Equity Means Diversity Everywhere, including nursing school faculty. And it was an article as well as a video done by our own postdoc, Dr. Tiffany Montgomery. So take a listen to what she has to say about some of her experiences.
And I'm also a labor and delivery nurse. I was as nervous as could be when I walked in. There were people in every crack and crevice of the room. 150 of us crammed into a moderate-sized classroom. Actually, 2 classrooms separated by a wall divider. I looked around. There's one. There's another one. I attempted to count everyone I could find. I missed a few that day, but it wouldn't be long. It wouldn't take long to realize that there were only 7 Black students in the spring 2005 nursing class. 2 guys and 5 girls. 7 out of 150. That's almost 5%. It wasn't much, but it was better than the 3% of us represented throughout the university. How were they defining diversity anyway? It never made sense to me. We were touted as the most diverse large university in the country. In fact, we won several awards for this diversity. But as I looked around the classroom, there was very little diversity in sight. It was bad enough that there were no nursing students who looked like me, but there were also no nursing faculty who looked like me. Of the 30 or so full-time tenure track undergraduate nursing faculty at my university, none were Black. There were 2 Black professors who taught at the graduate level, but I never interacted with them. The lack of representation at a school awarded for diversity was startling. There was no one for us to turn to when we had issues. For instance, during our first clinical rotation, my Black classmate and new friend was told by a patient that she was okay being cared for by my classmate because she let a nigger boy cut her lawn. My classmate was devastated. I was devastated for her, but we had no one to turn to. During our first year of our 3-year nursing program, we lost 2 of the 7 Black nursing students who began in the program. One girl left after only a week. She had just delivered a baby days before starting nursing school, so it wasn't a surprise. Another girl failed our second semester pathophysiology class. I was heartbroken. We were study buddies. What was I going to do now? I felt all alone. I decided to become a nurse educator because I wanted to help diversify nursing faculty. I wanted Black students to see themselves in me. Unfortunately, my story is not unique. There are nearly 4 million registered nurses in the United States. 45% of us are people of color, and 10% of us identify as Black or African American, which is not far off from the 12% of Black Americans among the U.S. population. But when we look at the number of Black nursing faculty, the racial disparity grows. 1 in 5 schools of nursing faculty are people of color. 1 in 10 are Black. Data from the National League for Nursing shows that Black nursing faculty enter academia at a higher rate than white nursing faculty, but are promoted to associate level and administrative positions at a lower rate. Right here in our own backyard is the greatest racial disparity. Upwards of 40% of Philadelphians identify as Black, yet only 19 of the 308 nursing faculty at the 5 Philadelphia universities offering bachelor's programs in nursing are Black. That's 6%. 6% in a city of 40%. Make it make sense. Of the 19 Black faculty in the Philadelphia universities, 6 are tenured, 3 full professors, 3 associate professors, and 1 Black man. That's right, 1 Black male nursing faculty member out of 308 in a city of more than 57,000 Black men and boys. 1, make it make sense. Representation matters. So by failing to have a citywide nursing faculty that's representative of our residents, we are failing Philadelphia, Black Philadelphia. We know that patients of color often prefer healthcare professionals with the same self-identified race and ethnicity. We know that these patients do better under their care. We know that nurse practitioners have the same or better patient satisfaction scores and patient health outcomes as physicians. So where are the Black nurses? 6% in a city of 40%. In the wake of a summer highlighting racial injustice, I'm calling on Philadelphia schools of nursing to lead the charge for increased diversity among nursing faculty and students. We are the birthplace of our country, the home of world-renowned universities and hospitals, and the city that helped place the first Black, Southeast Asian, and female vice president in the White House. Yet diversity among nursing faculty, we have to do better. Our city leads in so many ways. Let's make sure we're on the right side of nursing history.
Any comments
Yes.
at all around Tiffany's? Tiffany actually was a postdoc with Dr. Jamaat, and she actually will be leaving us this month. So I've had the pleasure of working with her for the last, wow, it seems like 2 years. Time is moving very, very quickly. And she also was gracious enough to also refer Dr. Hamilton to us as well. So there are any thoughts on what she had to say? I thought it was very eye-opening, the information and statistics that she gave. Any other thoughts or comments?
I think it kind of goes along the idea of Dr. Carey's last presentation about accountability. And, we talked about the fact that in our university, even, how many faculty of color are there? How many administrators of color are there? And again, you're not going to increase the student body and make the student body more diverse unless the faculty is more diverse. And you're not going to have the faculty be more diverse unless the administrators and the leadership is more diverse. So it kind of has to be, the culture of the university has to change in order to get that, equity that we're looking for and that we're striving for, and to really achieve diversity. And it's not just diversity of color, it's, the LGBTQ community as well, ageism. There's all kinds of different types of diversity.
Thank you. So we've got some great, read the comments in the chat. I will, full disclosure, there's a chirping, Veronica, I believe the defibrillator, I'm at the Community Wellness Hub, so I think it needs, so hopefully no one will need a defibrillator while I'm here, because it's chirping, which means it needs to be updated, right? Is that correct, nurses? Thank you very much. So I'm going to thank you for that. So I'm going to let Dr. Hamilton, and I'm going to just give a little bit more background. Again, thank you so much for agreeing. In addition to the information she gave, I'd just like to add, she's also the recipient of various awards. She's a Robert Wood Johnson Nurse Faculty Fellow, member of the American Association for Cancer Research, the Sigma Theta Tau International American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the National Association of Nurse Practitioners in Women's Health. And at UCLA, she served as a member on the curriculum committee. And she also serves as the co-chair of the Faculty Recruitment Committee and an elected member of the UCLA School of Nursing Diversity Council. Thank you again, Dr. Hamilton, for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. So I guess technically I'm not the party crasher. Hi, I'm glad to hear some of this discussion, because some of it is similar to my experience, some things a little bit different. I am going to use what was presented, I guess, as the construct when we talked about tenure and promotion. Here at UCLA, tenure and promotion go hand in hand. So we don't have a difference in what I'm hearing at Drexel, that you are there, then you go, and then you look for promotion, and then later on you do for tenure. So I just wanted to put that out just a little bit. The other thing that's different about my progress is that I didn't start out in nursing. I actually started out in biochemistry. I have a bachelor's in biochemistry. Went to graduate school, got a PhD in biochemistry, wanted to do research, and then wanted to do more than just write that little tagline about clinical application for my research. And so I went to Vanderbilt University and I did their accelerated bridge program. And I am a women's health and adult nurse practitioner, and I still practice to this day. I think it's terribly important for me to do what satisfies both sides of my brain. As I say it, I see patients, which I love and I need, and then I can do research at the same time, which I love and I need. So I have the solace of the lab and the chaos of the students, as well as my patients. At the same time, because I'm at an institution where everyone who's on tenure track, when you are hired, you are designated on a track, you go up for review continuously here at UCLA. And so what I put in place, some by force and then some by great fortune and happenstance, I have a community of mentors. I don't have just one. I learned soon that you need to have your mentor that's in your school. For you all, you have a college of nursing and health sciences. You need to have your mentor or a part of your mentoring committee who's there. The reason why that's important is because that person who's already been tenured needs to be your cheerleader, because they can go into meetings and hold conversations and water cool things, and they can cheer you up and they can talk about you and they can get other folks that will be voting on you a perspective of you. I also have a colleague who's mentor and colleague who's in the School of Medicine. And that is based largely on our research. As a biochemist, I do lab work. And so not many of my colleagues in nationally, not to just say my school, do the research that I do. And so I work with my physician colleagues. It's also important because here at UCLA, it's a recommendation, and it's not that the recommendations that come from your department aren't important. In my case, it's a school. You all are a college, we're a school, are not important. But another step that we have for our tenure promotion is that there is another committee that is composed of faculty, tenured faculty from across the entire university that looks at your dossier, and they determine, they make a recommendation for your promotion. And so having my colleague in medicine helps me to understand those colleagues who are going to sit on this committee who are from South Campus. And then I call her the best mentor ever in the world. She actually is an African-American woman, and she's in sociology, but she's a distinguished professor. And she was actually connected to me from someone else who saw that I had a need, who said, you know what, this person to be your mentor. And she actually served on that large committee that I just discussed. It's composed of 14 faculty. And if there's a need for an ad hoc committee, then there's another 6 that come in to discuss your dossier, make a recommendation. Then it goes to that committee. And so she was my mentor. And so she's also a mentor to this day, because she helps me to understand the university part. How other colleagues from other departments, what are the type of voices? What do you need to write? What do you need to say? As well as these individuals who are my mentors, I learned can also call up on certain people and say, hey, you know what? I know this was you who wrote it. You can't ever tell me, but I know this was you who wrote it. You know, you have this, we've had this discussion. So when you're looking at your mentoring group, you need to have a mentoring group at all levels. So you can see how mine's at all levels. It's not just in my school, but it's also outside, because my process is different. If I didn't have people on my mentoring circle who were outside of this school, it would have been very difficult. The other thing that I learned is I need to have a strategic plan. I make a strategic plan for every year. The first time I did it, I went home and cried. I was challenged by someone to do it. I went home and cried. I felt catatonic. I said, this is too much work. I can't see that far. It was painful, because what they asked me to do was look at what was I going to do for my manuscripts, and then what were the steps you needed to do to get there. And you were to mark it out across the whole year. That is painful, because I was used to lists. Today I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's been successful. But it didn't move me to the presentation. It didn't move me to the manuscript. It made me warm and fuzzy because I felt accomplished, but it wasn't moving my career forward. And so when you're on a timeline here at UCLA, our tenure clock starts July 1. Anyone who's hired July 1 and you are assistant associate full, your review starts July 1. If I had started in January, if I started in March, I lose those 8 months on my tenure clock. They don't come back, because July 1 is when it starts. And so I needed to be intentional with mapping out what I needed to do. And it was painful. It hurt. But after I started doing it, you can start tracking back. You know what? It doesn't go perfectly, but I could say, hey, I can pull this up. And some projects just don't work. But you had something else you can do. It also made sure that I was letting my mentors know what I was doing, because they're having conversations with people I don't know. And they're like, hey, so-and-so's working on this project. Maybe you should work with them. And what it does is increase your collaborative territory, because you need to have publications with your group, because you have to have demonstrated that you can work with these people and be successful. Publications are your currency. So when I listen to your structure, you know, if I had pearls on, I'd clutch them, because yes, I can't believe you don't have TAs. I mean, we have 50 or more students, you automatically have a TA. Matter of fact, you got 2. Because that's very important. So with that arrangement, I published with other people while I was trying to get my first author. So when I see what Pam put out and she says 2 to 3 publications, I'm going to say you need 2 publications per year, period. One needs to be with your research group and one needs to be with you as first author. And that should be your goal. And so your group needs to be big enough so that you can contribute with your colleagues who your research similarities are there. And then you have your own that pushes you forward. It's not 2 to 3 total. It's every year. Your presentations, you should do that. If you do an abstract, you submit it and you go and you stand by that poster, you give that podium, that's great. But that better be a manuscript within the next 8 months. Because if you keep going to meetings, and meetings take time. Yes, we're happy to be on the plane. Mind you, pre-COVID. Happy to be on a plane. Happy to be in a new location. Happy to have a quasi vacation, because you can be at a meeting and you can get so much done from going to your little seminar and going home and doing your computer. But it has to be productive. You have to show something for your university, and that has to move you forward. So on my strategic plan, I have a research column. I have what are my goals for the year, and that really helps me to say, yeah, this is not a checklist, because I have to mark out January towards this goal, I'm doing this. Towards this goal, I'm doing this. And then the next thing I have is I break it down into weeks. That part was painful too, because I had to say this week we're focusing on this. And then I actually break down my time. For these hours, I'm going to do this. For this amount of time, I'm going to do that. And I spread it off during the week. It was very painful initially to get started. It was counterintuitive. I felt it wasn't going to work. It does, though, because it keeps your mind from getting down that rabbit hole. Emails have not been I never liked emails, but now I got justification as to why emails are in 30-minute slots at 2 parts of the day. It made me feel accomplished to have my email inbox at 0, but it didn't move me for my manuscript. It didn't move me for that meeting. It didn't have me sit time and review the literature to move me forward. Presentations, it's lovely. People want you to talk, but does that move me towards this goal? And when it doesn't, then you have to say, you know what, thank you very much. But I have to say no. And I learned to say no in multiple different ways. Thank you for thinking of me at this time. I have this project. Thank you for understanding that I'm just not available. Can I follow up with you in 3 months? By that time, I talked to a colleague today. It's been very busy. I had a grant to submit. They all know by now, email is not the best thing to do with me when I have a grant. I let them all know, like a little tagline, working on a grant. It's due on this. You text me, you're liable to get a response. But it also it takes that pressure off of me of feeling that performance. I have to be there. No, I don't. I have to get this grant. This grant money is my currency. From a grant money, it allows me to do the research, which moves my service forward, which does those types of things. So that's important. UCLA, again, we are reviewed every 2 years, which you all are not. I'm fortunate, I have to say, in that respect, because you get feedback from your colleagues. By your 5th year review, that's when it goes, the recommendations from your school, they take a vote, your dean writes a letter, then it goes to the large campus. Oh, that's a great question. I'll get to that in a second. It goes to the large campus, and then they give you feedback to say, hey, good reservations. We're always prepped, but there's always going to be reservations. Academia is meant to find places of improvement. It's never meant to shower you with blessings at the very beginning. You have to work for this. You have to want this. Because in our system, once you're tenured through the whole UC system. So I can go from UCLA to UC San Francisco to UCR, UC Santa Barbara at the same rank and pay. That's what I have. Again, the other thing that allows me in the UC system is if I leave the UC system to go work someplace else and I come back, I'm still at the same rank and pay. So they have that. because your colleagues want to make sure that you are invested in this school and in the mission. And so the good thing that this question brings up here is, how do I move towards faculty while balancing home life, sanity, all the rest? There is no balance. We want to say there's a work-life balance. You just have to learn when to turn it off. One of the things that I do to turn it off is email does not come to my phone. It does not. In order for me to check my email, I go to my computer. I also have it, weekends are mine. Now, if I'm in here busting the midnight oil, that's fine. But my colleagues cannot call me on the weekend from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Monday. Don't do that. I also give my permission with writing in my time. It makes sure that when I'm working, whatever my work time is, I have accomplished is move me forward on my strategic plan. So when I'm with my family, there's no guilt. Academia can seep in and say, you have more to do. You will always have more to do in academia. It doesn't stop. You just do. You press the pause button. You go on vacation. You spend time with your kids. You do that, because what it does, it also resets you. We can't always operate on that hamster wheel. And so that's how I don't balance. I make time, because balancing would mean that I actually can perfectly hold this one as it's going and perfectly hold this one as it's going. And, there's none of that. And there's some times where I have to look at my week and say, I really can't do this. I really want to do this project, but I really can't do this. And so I have to set things down. And so that's important. The reality is, some people would encourage me not to clinically practice, but to me, I say my practice informs my research. So one without the other doesn't work. There are some people who can do that. That I cannot do. And so I have to keep that in mind with what's expected. I am associate professor now with tenure. Guess what? The bar has now moved. Now people are like, that's great. We're happy you get to breathe easy for a year. Then so you need to do all of this before you go up for full. So there's always something to do. And you make different adjustments, and there's different expectations. Academia was not even anything I thought about doing initially. It happened. And I am fortunate in that respect that what I'm curious about, which has always been my research, led me here. Because there were people who kind of nurture you along the way, where you kind of like, oh, how did I get here? And then you look back, you're like, hey, they had a plan, I didn't. Kind of good in some respects. But in other things, you do have to take, you have to be intentional. Because you can have fun in academia and it doesn't have to drive you crazy. It'll try, but it doesn't have to. And you can find the joy in that. But you do have to be intentional. For me, another thing of intentionality is I write in the morning. I do not make any appointments before 11:30. I'm fortunate because I'm not an administrator. We will see how that works. Should I ever become an administrator? And if I can move all my meetings to the afternoon. And the reason why I do that is because I write from 9 to 11 daily. I can't write. Some of my colleagues block off a whole day for writing. I want to go to the mall. It looks like a vacation for me. When I block off a whole day, I was like, yes, freedom. I don't have to look at a computer. It doesn't work well for me. I am not that, I can't sit still. So I have to do it every day, but it moves me forward. Now, do I write on the same thing for those 60, 120 minutes? No. So I might write 30 minutes on this project, 45 minutes on this project, work on this, and my writing's done for the day. And it's amazing to me that once my writing is done, the rest of the whole day, I'm good. So I don't feel as if I haven't accomplished anything. Students can suck me down on email. It's okay, because my writing's done, the manuscript's done, the project's worked on. I've sent that email, or I've answered what else I'm working on with the colleague. And I learned that because there was one time one of my mentors asked me to work on a manuscript, and I kept putting everything in front of that manuscript. And at the end, I contributed a little bit. And at the end, she says, Nalo, I'm sorry. I know that you've done this, but I cannot put your name on this manuscript because you did not contribute. And I vowed never to miss an opportunity like that again, because not only was my name on a manuscript, but I let down someone who was my mentor, who put me on a project to work with people. And I vowed never to miss an opportunity like that again. And so that is why I do some of the things that I do. I got tenure. It wasn't easy, but I did get tenure.
So Dr. Hamilton, you want to answer the second part? Thank you for that. Highlighting as this is the reality for most individuals of color, a more non-traditional track. You want to comment about your tenure as an African-American woman?
Denise!
Yes.
Okay, so what I will comment to this group is I am the first African-American, Native American, Latina, non-Asian, and non-European to ever get tenure in the 72-year history of UCLA School of Nursing. Okay? Thank you. Now, when I say this, it kind of goes back to what Veronica said and what Pam highlighted. I'm not the first one to be here in the 71-year history. I'm the first one to get tenure. So when we talk about those things, part of it is, yes, having that team. Part of that is being intentional. When I came to UCLA and I figured out that they gave me the invitation to come, I was going to make sure they were the ones to put me out. It was not up for discussion about whether I don't like you, I'm packing my stuff and I'm leaving. The vice chancellor who sent me a letter to come here was going to have to write me that letter to leave. That was a decision that I made. I can't say that was for my colleagues before that. The other thing was I had decided that I was going to make it very hard for them. And if I needed to pull out this history, I'll do it. But I didn't want that to be the first thing I pulled out. I was going to make it very hard for them. So in making it hard for them, I did have to publish. I did have to present. I did have to have those relationships with some people. And it never hurts to be nice, even to those people who didn't think I belonged here. Again, when I say that I had biochemistry as my background, in the biological sciences, you go straight through. There is no stopping and working and then coming back and then like nursing affords that opportunity. Biochemistry, you went from your undergrad, you went to grad school, you got a job, you did a postdoc, you went to academia. And so when I did come into the academy, I was very young. And that was used against me. So you learn to be savvy. And I have to say that I lean more on my Southern upbringing, because sometimes saying okay does not mean that I agree with you. It's just okay. So I have to say I'm happy about that. Time I've been here, I thought there would be two other people before me. I thought I would be the third when I came. I thought I'd be the third. And unfortunately, for various reasons, I'm not the third, I'm the first. I hope not to be the first for very long. But again, it's a little daunting as we've looked at some of the statistics that Tiffany Montgomery, Dr. Montgomery, she was my student. She pointed out there are not many, when you're looking at students who come through nursing who want to go on and get their PhD or even their DNP or even become a nurse practitioner and then come back to the academy. Why? Because money in nursing can be good on the floor. It can be good in ambulatory settings. So coming back to academia is another thing that's a bit more challenging. I don't always have the answers for that. I know that representation is important. I know that it's important for me to be here. And I work the best that I can to make sure that I'm here. And for some unknown reason, they keep me visible. So I'm just like, okay, we're going to do what we have to do. But it also comes with a responsibility. So I do have a responsibility. I have a responsibility for those folks who were here before me and didn't stay. I also have the responsibility for being here for those who are coming, who may not have thought this was an option. I also have a responsibility for this university to remember why they didn't stay. So I am in this process, and I'll be done. As I'm hearing the differences between Drexel and between UCLA, I was very taken aback by Pam's 18 years and 5 in nursing, where the comment said in health sciences, there have been more. Why? So what are they doing that's keeping that nursing can implement? Because if you are having class populations that are coming in 75 or more, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a TA. That's silly to me. There's no reason why one person is supposed to manage 75 personalities. That's why, as old people in the South would say, just send them out to pasture. Whatever they do, just send them out to pasture. Let them do what they want to do, because you got to keep your sanity. So I think that maybe it's time for leadership to sit down and say, how are we going to do this to retain this? Because I would also venture is that you guys have turnover that's probably unnecessary. So you have good people who are here, but who are leaving,
Right. Yep.
who may not have wanted to leave, but for their mental health and for support, they're not staying. And I, the upside of COVID is I can look at my screen over here and get some demographics on Drexel and see your numbers. And I'm like, I think in my mind, it will be a hard lift because it would change the thinking. But I think there's only 5 things y'all need to do. And I think that 18 years to 5 could change to 10 to go further. But yeah, there's going to have to be some commitment.
Dr. Hamilton, can we put you on the board? Can we vote to put you on the board?
Well,
She's
you
like,
know what? It's interesting that you talk about boards like that. I mean, here we have an alumni board that makes recommendations. In our system, boards make recommendations. Committees make recommendations. Our board, however, has a lot of influence. I think that one thing that if you're looking for a board that has influence is that you need that one person who has a whole lot of influence in the community surrounding your school. You need 2 of those people. Because if you all do not change your visibility, meaning how they see you, and you are in control of that narrative, and that's one thing I can say about our current dean and the dean before that. They made sure that whoever was on that board, they were in the community, they were carrying a narrative that was started by the School of Nursing, by the dean of the School of Nursing, not a narrative that the university was putting on us. If that's the case, then that's why you don't have TAs, because everyone's like, oh, they really don't need it. All they do is do OSCEs and simulations. You don't need anyone to help them with that. You're like, seriously? Have you ever taken fundamentals? It's a whole new way of thinking, So that's something that you probably need. You only need one person on that board who is very influential in the community, that you get their ear and they can take your message, and that changes. It's that bourbon conversation. You never know who's meeting in the bourbon room to have a conversation. You never know who is at that dinner table or that, but you want your narrative to be a particular thing.
Dr. Hamilton, thank you so much. I know we ran over a little bit for time. I know we have to be, but we can actually, I would love to have another session. And so I'm going to let, I want to thank everybody for attending. Thank you, Dr. Anala, for your inspiring words. I want to thank Dr. Mcgee, Tasha Martin, and also Marcia, of course, and Nadira. Thank you so much. And Dr. Carey, for us being on the board and inviting us. So this has been just phenomenal. And I would like to continue the conversation, especially for people of color. But I want to thank each and every one. I know, for lack of time, and we want to try to be prompt because this could go on another hour. Okay, but thank you so much. And Marcia, did you want to say anything else or any?
No, you've covered it all. Thank you again, Dr. Hamilton, and everybody that participated, our panelists, as well as those in the College of Nursing Health Professions. We appreciate all of your support. You as well. Thank you so much. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, everybody.